Well, I'm going to blow your mind with the answer. I think Trump is honest. I mean, he lies like all politicians lie. But there is a strain in Trump that's extremely honest. He's on sort of the radical honesty program when it comes to some things. And the way the system works, the way it's set up, is one of them. And that was a really important thing to have right both times he won. Because he was able to stand up there and say, yeah, that's right, I don't pay taxes, it makes me smart. Or, yeah, you've all been in my office on the bended knee asking me for money, and I paid you both just so I could own you. You know, if people had never heard anybody talk like that before, and it was true, you knew it was true. You can tell when someone's saying something that is really true and radical and controversial. It has an air to it that resonates, and Trump is very adept at that, very. So it worked. It worked for, you know, the regular man. It worked for the more sophisticated man who felt maybe a little threatened by it, but also intrigued by it. And I think, you know, with now almost 10 years of Trump in the public sphere, we can all see it so much more clearly, right? Like what he was doing and how it wasn't an act and it wasn't a tactic. It's who he is. It's the guy right now who tried to put Matt Gaetz in charge of the DOJ. It's the guy who tried to put Pete Hegseth in charge of DOD. The guy who's putting Tulsi as DNI. The guy who's putting RFKJ as head of HHS. Wrecking ball, middle finger, burn it down. I'm anti your fancy elite establishment circles.
I mean, and the biggest comeback that seemed like he was gone was the Access Hollywood moment. I mean, did you think he was down in that moment? And what do you ascribe to his comeback from that?
100%, I thought it was over for Trump. I didn't think he was going to withdraw after Access Hollywood, but I certainly thought he had no chance of winning. And that was like unlike anything we'd ever seen before. That sort of a tape with that kind of language. And it was the only time Trump apologized. You know, he did that sort of self-flagellation tape where he called it locker room talk, but it was an extraordinary moment. And I remember Bill Bennett, former education secretary under Reagan and a Fox News contributor, came on my show that night, and he'd been a big Trump defender. And he was so forlorn, saying, it's just such a shame. You know, what a shame. You know, it was like looking so good for him. And I trusted Bill, and I thought, yeah, he's right. He's calling it. He's got years of experience. And then Trump the fighter. I mean, that's really, if you're going to make a movie about Donald Trump, it should be called The Fighter. Trump the fighter got back up and said, no, I will not let you keep me down here. And showed up at that debate that followed with Juanita Broderick and Kathleen Willey. It was like, oh, and we all, again, like the buttoned up establishment types were thinking, oh, the impropriety, oh my goodness, we've never seen such a, what is he doing? Oh my God, it's working. He totally neutralized the growing narrative about him and women and made the choices look a lot less clear than they had prior to him reminding us what the husband of his opponent had done for years to women. Very effective technique and part of Trump's just unwillingness to stay down.
That's interesting because you've added to it now the power pause thing, but also the fighter is part of how he does the comeback, and I guess that's something you can see throughout his life.
Well, I mean, there's no better example than what happened in July of 2024, right? The first assassination attempt. What did he say? What did he say with the fist up? It's no accident, if you've been watching Trump, that the first thing that came to mind was him telling his supporters to fight. That wasn't an act. It wasn't an affectation. That is who he is in his core. And Trump looked angry in that moment. And sometimes when you're angry, your truest feeling will come out. Sometimes a false feeling will come, but sometimes it's your truest and deepest feeling. And you will say the thing you mean above all other things. And I do believe that message was sincere. And it was a rallying cry, you know, for his supporters and fans and others beyond. You know, we saw people like Mark Zuckerberg coming out and saying, what a badass moment. You know, we saw Democrats like Nate Silver, others praising this moment that you wouldn't expect, you know, your average Democrat to relate to, but it was a universal message and it was totally authentic for him.
We've talked to you before about the debate moment, but I'm curious about now, looking back on it from where you are now with the perspective of 2024. Do you look back on it differently, the interaction with him, what happened to you afterwards?
Well, I think I have a better perspective on it now. I'm able to put it in the proper file now. I think it was, Trump's response to me that night and thereafter was part of his fighter nature and was also part of his messaging to the populace that there were no sacred cows for Trump, including a Fox News anchor.